Now we'll create a gradient background for our robot scene. If you're following along, I'm in 12_gradients.fla in the Chapter 3 folder in the Exercise Files folder. What I'm going to do is zoom out just a little bit. On the stage, I'm going to press Command-. Remember on the PC, it's Control-. Zoom out a little bit. I want to be able to see the whole stage. Now for the background, I'm going to select the Rectangle tool. Remember that's under the Flyout menu with the Oval tool and Polystar tool. So let's choose the Rectangle tool. I don't want to have a stroke for this shape. So what I'm going to do is click the pencil icon that's for stroke color, not for the pencil tool. And notice that it's selected in the toolbar. Then I'm going to click the No Color button towards the bottom of the toolbar. I'm also going to turn off Object Drawing by clicking the Object Drawing button. You can tell that it's off because the color of the button matches the color of the background. Now I'm going to select a fill color. I'm just going to select black for now. We'll change that later. Make sure you're working in the background layer. You can do that by clicking on the background layer at the top of the screen. I know now that I'm working in the background layer because it's highlighted and because there's a little pencil icon on the background layer. Now before we draw the rectangle, we'll need to modify some settings in the Property Inspector. What we want to do is not have any corner radius for this rectangle. To reset the shape to have all square corners, click the Reset button in the Property Inspector. Now click and drag to draw a rectangle that covers the whole stage. Now what we'll do is turn this black rectangle into a gradient. To do that, choose the Selection tool and then select the shape on the stage. You can tell that it's selected because there are white dots around it. And then you create a gradient in the Color panel. Make sure the Color panel is open. If it's collapsed, you might want to double-click the Color tab to expand the panel, or you can choose Window, Color if you don't see the panel on the screen. With the background rectangle still selected, I'm going to create a linear gradient. One crucial step in doing that is to make sure you're modifying a fill color of an object. In the Color panel, see that there is a fill color icon, or a paint bucket, and a stroke color icon. Make sure the fill color icon is selected. Next, you need to set the type of fill that you're going to be working with. Currently, the type is set to solid. Click the drop-down and select Linear for the fill type. Then a linear gradient gets created on the stage. The gradient goes from black to white, black on the left side of the stage and white on the white side of the stage. But I want this gradient fading from top to bottom rather than from left to right. So how do I do that? There's a tool called the Gradient Transform tool. That tool is in a flyout menu beneath the Free Transform tool. So let's go to the toolbar, click and hold your mouse down over the Free Transform tool to reveal the Gradient Transform tool. Notice that the keyboard shortcut is F. Select the Gradient Transform tool. Notice that the shape on the stage is deselected. With the Gradient Transform tool selected, click on the gradient again. And notice that handles appear around the gradient. There are three main points of interest here. The first one is the center point in the middle. When you hover your mouse over the center point, you can click and drag to move the gradient, as I am doing right now. I'm pressing Command-Z on the Mac, Control-Z on the PC to step backwards. I'm going to deselect the shape on the stage and then click it again to show the Gradient Transform tool handles. Notice that there's a blue line on the left side and on the right side of the gradient. The one on the left shows where the gradient begins, and the one on the right shows where the gradient ends. You can scale the gradient by clicking and dragging the box on the side of the gradient. What I mean by scale is to expand the area that the gradient is applied. So the black to white transition can be over a greater range or over a lesser range. I'm going to press Command-Z to go back a little bit. And then I'm going to deselect everything by clicking in the gray area off the stage, and then click the shape again. Let's move the gradient origin back to the center of the stage by clicking and dragging the center point in the middle of the gradient. Then hover your mouse over the circular area in the top right of your selection. When you hover your mouse over that section, your mouse turns into a semicircle with an arrow on the end. Just like when you rotate something using the Free Transform tool, this cursor tells you that you can rotate this gradient by clicking and dragging. So I'm going to click, and I'm going to drag down, and have the gradient apply from top to bottom. You can customize this gradient however you want, But I'm just going to move it down a little bit, and I'm going to deselect everything. Now it looks more like our robots in space. So there's a look at how to create gradients in Flash.